we always have believed it's HI over AI, which is human intelligence over, artificial intelligence. So essentially, it should not be over reliance on AI. I think we should not deviate from this belief that it's always human over AI. This is what I strive for myself and I, try to advocate, which is never accepting that AI will ever become smarter than human intelligence.
Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm so glad to have you here for another episode of the Care to Lead interview series. Today, we're going to be discussing the impact that AI is having on industry, on leadership, and how we as leaders need to lead people through that change no matter what industry we're in. So I'm pleased to be joined today by Rahul Khurana, who brings extensive experience and a unique blend of strategic, creative, and operational abilities. He spent more than a decade at WPP, the largest media conglomerate, where he spearheaded multi-million-dollar accounts spanning India and Southwest Asia. Welcome, my friend. You've done so much. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
First of all, thank you, Cynthia, for having me. I am really grateful for the introduction that you've just made. So yeah, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your company, first of all, and your role within your company. We'll start there and then we'll dive into deeper, more interesting. Not that your company's not interesting.
So Kit Global is a 20-year-old performance marketing company. Okay. So, but when I say performance marketing, we're not performance marketing company anymore. We've evolved into a platform, a global platform. So it's a two-way platform that we have created for marketing, where a marketer can access array of performance marketing and audience engagement tools.
Tell me more about what is performance marketing for our listeners who might not know what that term means.
Yeah. So performance marketing, as the word says, it's very, what you can call it, very linked to the clear performance or the KPIs that we set. So performance could be anything. Usually it is linked to the bottom of the funnel KPIs. When I say bottom of the funnel, I'll just try to make it more simpler for our listeners. It could mean sales. It could mean views. It could mean leads. It could mean, some amount, maybe downloads for an app. So, when a marketer does something, let's say a campaign to drive performance or to drive a particular objective that can impact his business directly, that's performance marketing.
Great. So how has AI changed the way your company has implemented performance marketing?
So I think AI, I would say, completely transformed the way performance marketing or marketing used to be done. But I think before I delve deeper into this, I want to just leave a thought with our listeners. So I think we always had a belief in the power of AI. Okay. We've all grown up watching, movies like Matrix, Terminator, and even the Netflix series Black Mirror. So we knew, there are so many possibilities, and we figured out knowledge along the way. Okay. So we're still figuring out. Okay. So to bring our belief to life. Okay. And I think so is the impact of AI in performance marketing space. There is something that has already happened. So far, if you look at it for a marketer, even Google and Meta were a black box. Okay. There are multitude of channels. There are so many configurations. So there is, when I say channels, it could be Meta, it could be Google, it could be some publisher, it could be affiliate, it could be, so many channels. And then within each channel, there were so many configurations. You could configure your campaign based on employment, operating system, gender, political beliefs, and so on and so forth. There are about, 100 such parameters that you can set your campaign on. You can, target, your audience upon. And within this, nobody knew what would work for you. Okay. So it was all trial and error. So what AI has done, it has brought in more predictability for a marketer. Okay. So it will at least give you some amount of forecast on what to expect from your marketing campaign. Okay. So that's one. That's, predictability. The second is automation. Earlier, so you had to do everything manually. So let's say even things as simple as, scheduling a post on your social media or, scheduling an emailer. Now, all these things could be automated. I'm just going back to the predictability front, so I think a lot of performance marketing was all about consumption, then returns. When I say consumption, it means that, while marketer was evaluating a campaign based on, say, number of leads, okay? But nobody was actually calculating it based on the returns a campaign was getting. Again, just adding another layer so that it becomes simpler for our viewers or the listeners. Yeah. So let's say, Facebook, when you run a campaign on Meta, it gets you 1,000 leads. When you run a campaign on Google, it gets you 2,000 leads for a same amount of investment. So the simplest, way of looking at it is, maybe Google is a better channel for me than, Facebook. But when you, delve deeper, you might realize that those 1,000 leads that Facebook had generated for you might have resulted into more business for you. So maybe the lead quality was better. So I think all these, what you can call it, trends, AI has been able to simplify it for you so that you can read through those things, make decision making, like faster.
So I'm curious, as AI, and not just in marketing, but AI is very data driven, right? And everything is about data, data, data. Yet in marketing, as well as in leadership and other things that make organizations thrive and succeed, data is, while critically important, there's also a human component, the human emotional component. So how does marketing, how do you keep that human element in there? The way I try to work with leaders that, well, yes, as data is critical, it's super important. How do we keep that human element in our leadership and the way we run organizations? How are you doing that through marketing?
So I think, so we also need two different kind of customers at, both ends of the spectrum. There are customers we find who want to automate it completely, and there are customers who want to retain that human angle, to everything, even the content that we create. We always have believed it's HI over AI, which is human intelligence over, artificial intelligence. So essentially, it should not be over reliance on AI. I think we should not deviate from this belief that it's always human over AI. So we should use it. And I think this is what I strive for myself, and I, try to advocate, which is never accepting that AI will ever become smarter than, human intelligence. And even if you're using AI, you should exactly know what you're expecting out of it, and it should enhance your output. It should not replace your output. So I think this is what I try and drive. We should not let the perspective of empathy, the human connect, move out of our system, even in our customer interactions. Okay. So human beings, of course, are at the center of whatever we do.
So how do you incorporate that when you're designing marketing campaigns for organizations?
See, I think any tactical campaign on digital, you can create it at scale, and AI can create a lot of copies, a lot of iterations for you, thousands, 10,000 iterations by a simple command prompt that you can give. But I think even if you look at content, let's say, so like there is a travel client that we manage, and they have mandated us to create about 1,000 blogs for them, for their website every month. So here also we understand even Google's algorithm is designed in such a way that it can easily detect if the content is, created using AI. So, your bounce rate is likely to go up. Your website performance will also be impacted. Therefore, in fact, there are tools which can detect. There's a tool called Zero GPT, I think. So, which can detect, if the content is created out of GPT.
Well, I'm curious how the human factor. So when you're designing an advertising campaign, it's easy to get all of the data targets made, but how do you maintain the human element of that campaign? How do you do that? And I think like a good example of that would be how like the Super Bowl in the United States, right? This huge Super Bowl, everyone watches, and the commercials have this people watch the Super Bowl because they want to see the commercials. And most of those commercials are very experiential. They make you walk away feeling an emotion. And I know that digitally, that's a little more challenging, but I've actually read about where AI can actually read your emotion as you're interacting with your screen or your monitor and your facial expressions, and they can change the campaign or change the message based on how you seem to be reacting. Is that something you're familiar with, or am I just reading some pipe dream someone's talking about?
No, I know this is a reality today. There are a lot of such tools which can actually, adapt a message based on your reaction. So I think even in storytelling, the moment. So and I'll tell you about these tools. Some of the output that these tools create are very creepy. Okay, so they're not perfect as yet. So if I tell you the difference between the storytelling done by a human being as against artificial intelligence,
Uh-huh.
so I think only human being can visualize. AI can perhaps give shape to that visualization or can predict. Okay, so I'll give you like more example of storytelling. So let's say, if I'm visualizing there is an old man walking in a like a pebbled street. AI can perhaps give you like a prediction of what happens next. But I think this visualization was prompted by a human being. So I don't know if I'm able to make sense.
Mhm.
So, but what I'm trying to say is human beings can feel the emotions. Okay. So I might automate stuff based on a consumer cohort in AI. Okay. So I can tell you that, there are, people like Cynthia who have this kind of belief system and therefore target them with this message. But within this cohort also, there could be differences. So maybe what worked for you, that might not work for somebody who's in the same cohort. Therefore, the insight mining, the storytelling plays a major role, which AI has not been able to do it completely so far. So tools can automate. Yeah.
It's a tool to automate the processes that
Yeah.
humans still are putting out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I think, so we could not imagine Alexa or Siri in our life, I think about 15 years ago or 10 years ago. And we've still not been able to, like, we've been able to imagine, say, an autonomous or a self-driven car. I'm sure, we will be awestruck. I'm not denying, like, a situation or like a time in the future where AI might be able to, I would say,
Mhm.
like create stories as creative or as visually strong, I think, as human beings are capable of developing.
Rahul, I have a question for you. As an executive in an organization that does marketing and that is into the AI, what is it that keeps you up at night?
Oh, one is of course the content I'm watching. So any content I'm watching on the OTT platforms. But I think apart from that, on the back of my mind, what I'm also thinking about is how do I keep my team motivated? And I think as a leader, you are as good as your team. And unless they are invested in the same vision that your company is trying to drive, it'll all fall flat. And I've had such, experiences. I'm usually thinking about each of my team member. What might be bothering them? How do I keep them motivated? How do I, like what should be the next step in their career growth? Yeah. So that's one.
Let's talk for a moment about your team. How large is your team, and are they all remote workers? So you're dealing with them virtually, or are they in person in your office?
We are operating out of a lean team in India. We're about 20 people here. And of course, globally, we employ about 1,000 people across Indonesia, Spain, Cyprus, Dubai, Moscow. But yeah, so the team that I am responsible for is about 20. It's a hybrid work model that we follow. So that's how it is so far. So we kept it flexible. We want to offer that flexibility to our people. They can come to office and they can also operate out of wherever they wish to.
How do you find relationship building and getting people? Because you were very accurate that in order to lead effectively, people have to buy into the vision and be behind that vision. So, what are some of the tips you have for leaders who are leading teams to get them behind the vision and make sure that everyone's on the same page?
See, I'm not really perfect in that, but I'm also learning. So I think some of the recent learnings I can share with you. So I think it's very important to align the team with your vision. So not that, it cannot be a one-way street. I cannot just announce that this is the vision. So they need to like really be motivated to be invested in this common vision of the company. I think our HR is also very strong. They promote openness in the organization. Anybody can express their, opinion for anybody. So which is also a good thing. I think continue to have one-on-one dialogues, one-on-one interactions with your team is very important. Of course, one is, of course, addressing them as a team. Other is addressing them as individual and understanding that each individual might have a different motivation at different stage of life. So maybe there could be a 24-year-old guy in your, office who needs, maybe more fun. When they come to office, they want a very vibrant workplace, and then there
Mhm.
could be somebody who's, like who's just gotten married. They want more stability in their life. So understanding what would work for whom is very important, I think, as a leader.
I think one of the things that I've come across in my 15 plus years of coaching executives is that often an executive might believe that everyone is aligned with their vision. And what's interesting is if you pull people aside one on one and ask them to articulate to you the company vision, you might get 20 different iterations of that mission or that vision. They all might be similar, but it's not necessarily always unified. And I think it's the responsibility of the leader to make sure that there is one unified, same language, same terminology, same understanding for all of the team members. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, in fact, Cynthia, you articulated it very well. You like this is exactly what I wanted to also express. So it's very important for us to exactly understand what we are trying to achieve as what, like as a company. What I make sure is that, we do regular meetings with the team wherein they can ask any questions. So of course, one is of course giving them an update on what's happening globally, how we are progressing, what are other countries doing. Maybe we can learn from them. Other is listening to them, like creating an open environment where they can ask any questions about, how a particular task is aligned to a larger goal of the company. So I think creating such opportunities is very, very important. So this is what I try doing. So not that, every action that we take, will result into something great. But yeah, I think it's a continuous learning for everybody. And it's a continuous challenge for a leader to keep iterating and keep motivating your team to be invested in that same vision.
Yeah, it seems like no matter how good your company might be at marketing or setting up marketing strategies and using AI and getting the data, unless the team itself is functioning at its highest level and leadership skills are changing because of this digital realm. Teams have to be more agile. Teams have to be more flexible. Teams have to be more creative. Teams have to just be faster. We don't have time anymore for some of the leadership skills that we had in the past. And everything's still important, but everything's moving faster. So our teams, in my perspective, have to be cutting edge. They have to be the best at what they do and able to pivot and be creative. I think that often when we talk about AI, we tend to stick with the digital, stick with the transformation, stick with the disruption, and we don't factor in how we have to change our leadership.
I totally agree with you. I also encourage my team to hustle, to maybe find, like encourage them to become more solution oriented. One is, of course, being ready or, upskilling yourself in a way that, you are also aligned with the trends that are, taking place in the market. But other is developing that mindset or cultivating that kind of mindset, which is we'll figure out, we'll learn along the way. I know the basics, so I think this is what I'm trying to also cultivate, in this very, very rapidly changing kind of landscape where every day there is a new tech that comes your way and hey, you don't know anything about it. So important is to at least know the basics and to align your mindset in such a way that, I'll figure out. So yeah, I think, and I having a humility to accept that there is a learning curve that I need to have and I'll have it.
So I want to ask you personally, what are some transformations or changes in your own growth as a leader that you've made throughout the years? Like, how have you changed and grown as a leader?
One is, of course, becoming more accepting of the fact that I'm not a pro. I'm continuously learning. So again, cultivating a mindset that I need to be better than yesterday. So this is more on the overall level. And I think this is setting. Other is the second I can talk about is how you need to continue learning from your team, listening from your team. Very, very important. So I think for me, I would say nothing is more important than the team that work here at Kid Global. Of course, and if they are taken care of. My customers' delight will also be taken care of. And my company, this company, Kit Global, will also continue to grow. So this is the second thing which I've learned, which I'm trying to imbibe in this year. The third is, I think I will be as good a leader as much as I work on myself, which is, to do with my health, my spiritual, how do I feel internally? Do I feel positive? Do I bring the positive self to office? And people could really make out, whether you're faking it or you really believe in it. So you can't fake it for too long. So
Mhm.
I think I have tried to like really first, I think the inspiration begins with self, and then only you can, impart that same inspiration to your team. So I think these are three things. And plus, I think fourth thing, if I had to, like if you allow me, is continuous learning. Though of course in school, back in those days, I was a backbencher and a daydreamer. And you can understand daydreaming and AI go hand in hand. We were imagining things which are happening today. So, but of course, one good thing was, though of course I was a backbencher, I always enjoyed reading, which I continue to do so. So the continuous learning as a leader is very, very important. So I think that is what helps you to continuously grow.
So, how do you model for your teams what continuous learning looks like? I find, obviously, because I'm a coach, that one of the best ways to model continuous learning is that most top executives today have coaches. What do you do in your leadership that models that continuous learning for your teams?
I've not really formulated a model like this, but I can always say that, any change that we talk about starts from me, even if it is, developing like a culture of continuous learning, it starts with me, how attuned I am with the latest trends. So
Mhm.
basically, which comes from, and I definitely agree with the concept of having a coach or having, say, a mentor or senior, whom you can speak to, so of course you can only know you need some, macro level view on your own life also. So it's not only with professional life. I think even in personal life, it's very important to keep seeking advice. Somebody who is detached with you, okay, or who's detached from you really, but just understand you a bit. Maybe will be able to give you a better advice on life. So I have a lot of such people, whenever I get stuck, not just when I get stuck, but I think when I need a fresh inspiration, I go to these people, and some of them are my seniors, some of them, but I don't have not had a professional coach. I definitely do see how much a professional coach can add value to your life, whether professional or I think personal life. So even when you go to a gym, I think try working out without a trainer, you will see a difference. A good trainer can really, fast pace your fitness journey and take it to another level. He or she can help you achieve your goals much faster. So yeah,
I think that's a good analogy because when I go to the gym without a coach, I am really, yeah, I don't need that heavy of a weight. I'll take kind
yeah,
of the
yeah.
easy way out when a coach will push a little harder. So, in your experience, what are the most common misconceptions about digital marketing that you would like to debunk for our listeners today?
Okay, so you're asking about digital marketing. So I think even to do digital marketing well, you need to understand the fundamentals of marketing very well. So if you're not a good marketer, I think it will be very difficult for you to be a good digital marketer. So getting your fundamentals in place is very important. I think it's not a myth. I'm just trying to add something to this perspective. The second could be that I think digital marketing is only for digital marketers. I think the way world is changing today, you could be doing anything. You could be a chef, you could be a teacher, you could be a startup founder, or everybody would need some kind of digital marketing either to do personal branding or to accelerate their business. So it's very important to understand the basics, fundamentals for everybody. So it's not so. And good part is digital marketing has really democratized stuff for you, unlike traditional advertising where you had to go through middlemen or go through a publisher to release an ad. Today, sitting at home, you can just, run your ad, run your campaigns using large platforms like Google, Meta. So I think it's important for everybody to learn the fundamentals and basics. And of course, for larger things, come have an expert like us who can help you in that journey.
That's actually very good advice and good thinking. I'm curious, with that being said, a segue that I want to ask you, who is the ideal client for Kit Global?
See, ideal client is somebody who's looking for scale and at a rapid speed. I think we can help shorten that journey, very well. So I think, and we've been doing it. We work with some of the largest clients in India. You talk about marketplaces, you talk about consumer durables, you talk about electrical. I think all top players within all categories, I would say, they are, working with us in some capacity or the other. I think one is, of course, ideal client. Other is who are we ideal for? Okay. I think we are ideal for anybody who's looking for solutions or, like who has high ambitions. Okay. And who's trying to hack growth. We are a right partner for them.
Is there a
So,
size company like I'm guessing that a company the size of yours is not necessarily going to be the most cost effective for a small, 10-person firm who wants to scale, but maybe for a mid-size to larger, maybe 50 million and above. Like, is there any size like that you think that you're going to be able to help the most and the fastest?
so I think both perspectives are there. One is from the size of the company, my experience has been we've been able to make huge impact on some of the large brands in India. Okay. So here the marketing budget played like a huge role, but also our platform, which contain, which could analyze, which could become smarter with every shot and therefore, the marketing gets a better result. But I think more than size, it's about the ambition of a company. Again, anybody who's, starting slow, we are good for them, but we are great for somebody who's like looking for fast growth. Okay. Who wants to expand, across, say, I love briefs like, we want to go to X to 100X within, very little time. Can you hack growth almost? I think love those conversations.
Excellent. So for our
Yeah.
listeners who want to learn more about your work, how can they connect with you or your business?
You can follow me. So I'm there on LinkedIn. If you want, you can send me a request. You can send me a message or follow me there. I'm also available on Meta and Twitter, X. Yeah. Most of the social media platform I'm available on.
I do like that almost every guest I have on here, when I ask that question, LinkedIn is their primary go-to for people to connect. And I think that if you are a listener and you are not very active on LinkedIn and building your audience on a regular basis, you're missing out on a wealth of people that you can make part of your world. And it really does matter.
No, totally. I think when it comes to personal branding, as well as, even seeking business, I think it's a great prospecting. I would say LinkedIn is a great platform. I think not just me, the entire team is, very active on LinkedIn. In fact, clients also check you out, when they're about to, like award their business to an agency. Who is the leadership? What kind of reviews does this person have? Therefore, I think it's already very important and it's going to become even more, important in the days to come, in the years or, in the times to come.
I agree completely. I want to thank you for being here today. And I also want to thank our listeners for tuning in to the Care to Lead video series. If you found this episode valuable and you want to stay updated on our latest interviews and insights, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel or find us on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, remember, leaders who care to lead. Thank you. And thank you, Rahul.
Thank you, Cynthia, for having me here.